Happy Tech Tuesday, September 3rd. This is Steph, and I am going to show you today how to do Google Forms. So you'll need to sign into your Glenbard Google account by clicking Sign In and logging in with your first class email address and then the password that you've chosen. If you have not yet logged into your Glenbard Google account, you'll want to check with your instructional tech specialist in your building to get the default password and click Sign In. Once you're signed into your account, then you'll want to click on Drive in the bar at the top. Once you're in your Drive, you will see on the left-hand side the option to create. I'm going to click the Create button, and then I will choose Form. Creating a Google form will allow you to survey your students, and I'm going to survey my students to see what kind of network access they have both at home and whether or not they have access to BYOT, so bring your own technology. So I'm going to call this Tech Survey, and then you have options to choose a theme, some exciting themes like fish and gingerbread men. I'm going to go with the old blue and click OK. Here you have some options in form settings at the top. You can, if you want, require the students to log into their Glenbard Google accounts in order to view the form and fill out the survey, which would allow you to automatically collect their username. So you would have that kid's ID number and name. Now, if you do that, you're going to need to make sure that you teach your students how to access their Glenbard Google accounts, which are their ID number at glenbard.org. So if you're not sure that you want to do that, or you're not sure if you want to take the time to do that, or you don't care if you collect their username and you can just put in a field to collect their name, then you can uncheck those. So I'm going to go ahead and uncheck those. Then I'm going to add my questions. Some questions you might want to consider are, do you have internet access at home and a computer? Do you have Wi-Fi access at home? Do you have a device that you are able to bring to school that has internet? What kind of device is it? These are all questions that you might want to ask your students. In order to make your life easier to sort of categorize these survey responses, you probably want to ask their names and their class period. That'll kind of help you differentiate which class each student is in easily. And that will help you too if you decide to do some cooperative grouping later based on their answers. To add a question like, what is your name? You can add the question by typing in the question title. There's also some help text if you want to give more direction for that question. And for a question like, what is your name? You would want to choose text. So that would be a text entry box for the student, and I would definitely require the question. So you just check that box so that they have to fill that out and hit done. To add another question, click Add Item, and you could put in, what is your class period? This I would probably choose multiple choice. That way I know that they're choosing the right option. And you can do 1, 2, and so on. And again, requiring the question will mean that it's going to be easier for you to sort that information later. You can also ask a question that might have multiple responses. So if I add the item and I say, what kinds of devices do you have that you are able to bring to school? If you choose checkboxes, the students can check off multiple options. So in the help text, I might say, check all that apply. So I might put in Kindle, and I'm putting in a Kindle Fire because if they have a regular Kindle, that does have Wi-Fi access, but it's not going to give them the same options that something like a Kindle Fire would give them. An iPad, an iPod Touch, because much of what you can do with an iPad, you can also do with an iPod Touch. It's just smaller. An iPhone, an Android phone, a Windows phone, a laptop, and maybe you want to specify whether it's Mac or PC. Most of the time that won't matter because most of your resources are going to be internet-based, but you might want to know if they have iMovie or something on their laptop. So this is just a few options. You can add more. You can add other if you want to give them the option to put in their own answer here. And then I would require the question. You probably want to do, I do not have So that needs to be an option for them, that they don't have a device that they can bring to school, because you need to take that into consideration, and then hit done. Here at the bottom, you want to kind of think about what the confirmation page should look like for them. So you can show a link to submit another response. I would not show the results. So you could publish and show a link to the results to everyone. I wouldn't do that. You can allow responders to edit. I probably wouldn't do that for this because it's not necessary. It's a really quick little form. It's up to you what you want your page to look like, and then hit send form. So when you click send form, this is how you will share the link to that form. You will paste that link somewhere so that they can access it. So I can press Command C to copy that, and then I can paste that into something like Schoology, or I can send it in an email. But that is the link that you would give the students in order to take your form, take your survey. Then when I hit done, I'm going to choose a response destination. You have two options. You can create a new spreadsheet, or you can keep the responses only in forms. By keeping the responses only in forms, you're just going to see a summary, and then you can download a CSV file of the responses. I like to create a new spreadsheet so that I can get the responses and sort them right in a Google spreadsheet. So I'm going to hit create with new spreadsheet, and notice it will name it responses for me. And then it will set up my spreadsheet for me. If you want to preview what your form will look like, you can click on View Live Form. And this is what the form would look like to the student. After I sent out my form and my students have responded, I can go back into my Drive and I can see my responses. So I can click on Tech Survey Responses. That's the Google spreadsheet that accompanies the form. Here are my responses. Right now I have 4 responses. I have a timestamp so I know when the survey was taken. The students have entered their names and their class periods. And then I can see in my spreadsheet what the access looks like. So whether or not they have a computer at home, whether or not they have Wi-Fi access at home, whether or not they can bring a device to school. Clicking in the upper left corner between 1 and A will highlight your entire spreadsheet. Then I can click on Data and choose Filter, and I can filter so that I can see who does not have internet access or Wi-Fi access at home. And it will separate out just those students. Notice my filter is on. To take my filter off, I would do Select All and hit OK. I can do the same thing with what kinds of devices that you're able to bring to school. So if I want to know who does not have a device, I can hit Clear, check off I do not have a device, click OK, and then the results will show me who does not have a device at home. And then again, I want to put my filter back on to Select All to see all of my responses. So that works similarly to filters in Excel. Another really quick, easy way to identify whether or not students have access to particular devices, or to identify certain responses on your form, is to use something called conditional formatting. And conditional formatting will make the spreadsheet respond in a certain way based on the responses that are in it. So if I want to know all of my students really quickly who do not have a device that they can bring to school, this is what I can do. The first thing I would do is highlight that column by clicking on G. So notice I'm highlighting the entire column, so that will get all of the responses that come in that area. Then I'm going to click on Format and choose Conditional Formatting. Here I can choose Text Contains, and I can just type I do not, or I do even, because that's the only response that I do not have a device that includes that text. And then I can choose Background and pick a background color for that response. So any responses that contain I do are going to have an orange background. When I click Save Rules, notice that those responses are now highlighted, so I can really quickly identify the students in my class who do not have access to a device that they can bring to school. I can do the same thing in my Wi-Fi access column. So I would highlight my column by clicking on F, choose Format, Conditional Formatting, Text Contains No, and maybe I want that to be yellow. So I change the background color, hit Save Rules. And then again, any students without Wi-Fi access, those would be highlighted in yellow. So it's a really quick, easy way to identify the students who do and don't have access visually, so you can really pick it out in your class. And then if you don't see any color highlighted, maybe that means everybody has access. So this is just a really fast, easy way using conditional formatting to identify students' responses on the forms on Tech Access. The nice thing about setting up conditional formatting is that you can set up the formatting and then any additional responses that come in will respond in the same way. So you don't have to do it at the very end. You can set it up at the beginning, make sure that you have it set the way you want it with the colors that you want and the information that you want. And then moving forward, as students respond, it's really, really easy to identify the kids who do and don't have access. And again, this would be a private thing. You wouldn't want to share this information with your class, but it will help inform you about any cooperative grouping that you might have to do, the types of assignments that you give your kids, and what your expectations are as far as their digital access. If you have any questions about forms in Google or using conditional formatting, please don't hesitate to come see me, shoot me an email, and I will come help you. Thanks so much. Have a great Tuesday.